We just got the biggest Commander announcement of the year, guaranteed actually, and it comes with 5 new unbans. We're going to be talking about those right now.
I'm Mia, and there's such big news today.
I'm BZ. I'm losing my mind. We're the Nitpicking Nerds, sponsored by Card Kingdom. If you want to take some time away at this crazy time to just buy some Magic cards, maybe the cards that get unbanned, maybe you could put some of these into your new deck. That's cool. Go to Card Kingdom. They've got everything you need. Go get their free shipping on orders, $50 or more.
You could get a full new deck with all these cool cards that are unbanned right now. We're also sponsored by Dragon Shield. Best sleeves in the multiverse.
Good sleeves.
If you use the code
Nerds
at checkout, you can save 5% every room by $10 on your entire order, which includes matte sleeves, which can match all of the colors of all of these cards that are unbanned right now.
You know, real money tax dollars just gets compressed more and more each time until it eventually is just going to be. So if you want to check out another sponsor, Moxfield. They're the best place to build decks. When you're including all these game changers, all these new fresh unbans, Moxfield's got your back. We'll talk about them later. And we have patrons. We thank you very much for supporting us. And if you want to go check out the link, you know, it's there for you. So we're super hectic and we're all excited, and we're going to talk about these unbans. So there was a huge announcement recently where Gavin went over on his channel, Good Morning Magic. You can check it out. Maybe we'll link it in the description. It's got all of these game changer updates, unbans, philosophy discussion. We do know this is the only change to the ban list for the rest of the year, so keep that in mind. We are just going to talk about the unbans. That's the biggest thing, and we're going to tackle the brackets in the next video that we make.
All of these unbans are going to be game changer worthy. All safe at bracket 3 and above. Don't expect to see these in your bracket 2 and 1, which I really do like about the system. It protects the people at the lower powers.
That's something to keep in mind as we go through this, because you know, previously, before the Game Changers list, if they were going to unban like a random card, it's like, okay, how often am I going to see this thing? Now you kind of know. You're not going to see these in these pre-con level casual decks, which is great.
And you won't be seeing all of these at once in a bracket 3 deck. You can't cram all 5 of these new unbans in a single bracket 3 deck. I like that a lot. The first one we're going to go over is Gifts Ungiven. It's 3 and a blue for an instant. Search your library for up to 4 cards with different names, reveal them. Target opponent chooses 2 of those cards, put 2 in your graveyard and the rest into your hand. Then you shuffle.
Yeah, the unbanned Gifts Ungiven, people have been asking for this for a while. Now, this card was originally banned as an enabler for some combos, and I do know that the rules committee, the former one, was very down on tutors, and this is basically the tutoriest tutor that ever tutored. You go find 4 cards, and you can even get a little tricky with it if you only find 2 cards. They have to put both in your graveyard, and if one of them has flashback, that's great for you. So this was banned as like they was treated as one of the pinnacles of tutoring in the format.
We'll be seeing this in a lot of blue decks coming up. It's great in basically all of them. It's super fun to resolve too. I love giving opponents a good guessing game, and I think that out of all the tutors, this is one of the most fun ones to resolve.
Yeah, and I think that it's also can be very, very fair. You know, most of the time I think now that this card's legal, people are just going to put it in their deck and they're just going to go find 4 things. Maybe you're going to have to think about like how long that takes. Don't be the guy who takes 5 minutes for an end step fun Gifts Ungiven on turn 5, because that's not going to be very fun to sit through. So have some idea of what you're going to go find.
This is going to be great in combo decks if you want anything in your graveyard in particular, or great with flashback spells. Savine's Reclamation and Burial Rites come to mind, but anything that you want in your graveyard can be really good. Even if you just want to go get a deep analysis so you can get some card draw, might be a good deal.
Yeah, maybe you go get like 2 removal spells and 2 card draw spells. I think most of the time you probably want to get things that fill a similar role. You can just get 4 removal spells. Go get 4 board wipes, and then you're guaranteed to have 2 of them in your hands, and your opponent might squirm a little bit. I think some cards you're going to see alongside this are like Snapcaster Mage, where now if you add this into a gifts pile, any other instants and sorceries you get now have a redundant copy. So if you can find 2 effects like that, and then any 2 instants and sorceries, they don't really have a choice, and it's going to go well for you.
I think that this is a good unban. Intuition is already legal, and with things like Factor Fiction already in the mix, this is a more powerful, but also a costly tutor. I mean, this is 4 mana to be casting this.
Yeah, I do think this is about as good as Intuition. There are just as many I win the game right now lines with Intuition as there are Gifts Ungiven, but since Gifts Ungiven's on the Game Changers list, I don't even care about that as much, because I know that it's going to be relegated to mostly higher power stuff. If this would have been unbanned without the Game Changers list, and you say, hey guys, I built my dessert-themed deck, and then you throw out a Gifts Ungiven, I'm going to raise an eyebrow, but there's not going to be as much of that now that it's on the Game Changers. It's bracket 3, probably bracket 4 type gameplay that you're looking for with this, and it's not going to really like bamboozle anyone.
I think it's very fitting for being on here. What's the next card?
The next card is Sway of the Stars. This is 8 blue for a sorcery. Each player shuffles their hand, graveyard, and all permanents they own into their library, then draws 7 cards. Each player's life total becomes 7. You know, maybe this was something that people could have seen coming because they did unban Worldfire, and Worldfire kind of has a similar, maybe even more aggressive text box. It says, hey, the game's over right now. No one has anything, and the first player to do something probably wins. This is like a little bit slower than that. Everybody becomes 7. They go to 7 life. And also, there's nothing in play. I don't know. I wasn't expecting this one. It restarts the entire game and kind of invalidates the decisions made before it. That's definitely why it was banned, but I'm open to it. I mean, we're going to talk about it.
Yeah, I'm pretty surprised to see this unbanned, considering this is relegated as a miserable card. Worldfire is not something that is often welcome in a lot of pods. It's not particularly strong, but it changes the game and warps the entire game around this one card. So if you really don't like it, make sure to ask if people have this in their deck. I think there is very different game changers from Sway of the Stars to like Bolus's Citadel.
Yeah, this is definitely one of those bad cards that's not going to see a ton of play, but where might you see it? I think maybe decks that exile their own things to certain effects. Lumbering Battlement, for whatever reason, came to my mind. It's like you can exile all your creatures under it. Then when you cast Sway, everything goes away, but your creatures weren't there, and now they come back, and now you have a full board. And that's actually just almost a 1-2, I win the game right now button. No one's going to have any cards in their hand that they have any control of. No one's going to have anything on the battlefield. Everyone's at 7 life. So in those decks where you're trying to like trap some of your things and then reset the game for everyone else and make it non-symmetrical, it'll be a really good finisher. Most of the time this card sucks, and it's probably meant for like the games that you used to play when you were first getting into Magic, where you were playing like a 5-player, 4-hour game, and it was more just a social thing. And if a cool big effect like this comes out, no one's going to be upset about it.
Yeah, you're just like, whoa, what is this? I definitely think that this has homes. I mean, if you're playing Teferi's Protection, you phase out all of your stuff, your life total can't change. You're like, wow, I'm at 38, you guys are at 7, you have nothing, I have everything. I think it can work, but I think those combos are few and far between. I'm not sure if this is a good unban, though. On one hand, I mean, it's like, I don't think it'll really see play, and I think it'll get rule zeroed out, or if you want to call it that still, very quickly. But it's also a miserable card, as we mentioned earlier.
Yeah, I would prefer to never have this card cast against me for the rest of my life. Does that mean it should be unbanned? It's tricky because, you know, there's some cards that just police themselves out of the format. But like Nadu, you know, it's a miserable card, but a lot of people are clamoring to play it. So it's really weird. Like, should we only ban miserable cards that people can't stop themselves from playing? Because this is a miserable card that most people will just stop themselves from playing, which is, I think, why it's unbanned. But it gets really tricky. There's probably no answer to that. I'm just musing to the void at this point. But I think ultimately, even if this isn't a good unban, I'm not really going to feel the effects of it. So that probably means it's just okay.
Yeah, we will get more unbans and bans, but not this year. We'll be getting them later next year or something.
Yes. Our next unban, what do we got? It's an oldie but a goodie.
Oh gosh, it's Braid's Cabal minion. It's 2/black for a 2/2. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player sacrifices an artifact, creature, or land of their choice. As a commander, this is very rough, especially when we had faster mana like Mana Crypt and Jeweled Lotus. It shuts down early plays and eats people's lands. This was banned all the way back in 2009 because of just how bad it was even back then.
Yes, that was a different time. That was what was that, like 14?
That was a hot minute ago.
16 years ago?
Yeah.
16 years ago. So I actually didn't even see Jewel Lotus. Anyway, the impact of this card, you're going to see it in nastier decks. You're going to see it alongside stacks pieces, cards that shut down your resources, stop you from playing things so that each permanent you would have to sacrifice with Braids becomes more important and more backbreaking. And whoever has Braids is going to have a bunch of extra crap to throw away. They're not going to be too worried about that. I don't think anyone's really going to spring a surprise Braids on you. That's not something I'm really concerned about at all with this. You know, unlike if somebody fires off a Cyclonic Rift and you're like, oh, you know, it's that kind of game. I don't know if this is going to make that type of effect. I think a lot of people also, they know about Braids. They're not doing the thing that people used to do with Mana Crypt where they go, my dinosaur deck needs mana. This is like, what are you going to say? My mono black deck needs land destruction. No one's going to be able to get that sentence out and not go, oh yeah.
This is best in Esper colors, the decks that can help you with adding to the board. It's going to stop symmetry because you're going to have so much more to sacrifice. I think nowadays, though, maybe this is just me, there are just so many more ways. Every time something comes in, it's going to add a permanent. I think that this is so much less backbreaking, whether you're doing Novice Inspector or Smothering Tithe.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of cards that make Braids look a little sad in comparison. But as Gavin mentioned in his video on Good Morning Magic, the game's not over when Braids is played on turn 3 or 4. And I don't know, he did bring up the dies to removal argument. And like, obviously Braids gets housed by removal, whether it's your commander or you just play it. I think that's noteworthy, and there is better and more removal now. I just think this card is less relevant, and I think I've been talking about bringing this thing off the ban list for years, so I obviously have no problem with it.
Yeah, I have no problem either. I think the fact that it doesn't say non-token is the biggest part for me. If this said non-token, like artifact, creature, or land, it would be so much more backbreaking. That's what makes things like a Cursed Marauder way more backbreaking. But because you can sack, the food token that you got off something, or the map token that accidentally came in, I think this makes it a lot easier to deal with and give you more time to deal with it.
I mean, genuinely, I think the only turns this is scary are basically 1, 2, and 3. After that, I think there's a good chance someone has extra stuff or a removal spell, or even if they lose a land, it's going to go around a turn cycle and then it'll get answered or something. I think that's very, very likely. And then after turn 5, this card's a joke. This card, there's so much extra, like, Fable of the Mirror Breaker level tokens making tokens that I don't think that is too much of a problem. But I would be concerned early if you see a Braids, you have to kill it. If you see it late, you literally just pretend like it doesn't even exist. But not like Moxfield, because Moxfield you shouldn't pretend like it never exists because it helps you build better commander decks.
Moxfield is the best place online to be checking your brackets if you want to tell how the bare minimum of your brackets and see how many game changers you have in your list. You can go on Moxfield, it'll tell you the bracket right at the top.
Yeah, there's more game changers now. You're going to have to make sure to pay attention to that. They have a little watermark though, because Moxfield they know what you need and they're giving it to you. Moxfield is fantastic. We're going to go to our next unban. This is the 4th of 5 unbans. There are still more to go. We got Coalition Victory. It is unbanned. 3 in a Wooburg for a sorcery. It says you win the game if you control a land of each basic land type and a creature of each color. Why was it banned? It wins out of nowhere. The rules committee, when it was still existing, highlighted this level of card as problematic. There was a whole group of them that were unbanned. The win out of nowhere cards. I think that was their stance on it. We have since moved past the rules committee. Now Wizards controls the commander format, and this card is now here. So where might we be seeing it?
Everywhere that you can play 5 colors, every Wooburg deck will have the ability to run this, and I think we'll be seeing it as soon as all of these Wooburg decks don't have a win con. If you're just playing 5-color good stuff, I feel like this is going to be the main win con out of all those. We're going to be seeing this kind of as often as we're seeing like Approach of the Second Sun, when you just don't have a concrete win con in plan.
Don't expect to be seeing Braids or Sway the Stars very much. I think those are not going to be super impactful in your day-to-day commander games, but just like Gifts Ungiven, get ready to expect Coalition Victory out of every person playing a 5-color deck. I'm just going to assume you're playing it until you tell me that you're not playing it, honestly, because I don't want to lose to this, so I'm going to be ready, and I'm sure people are going to get mad at me for killing their commander, like, preemptively.
Yeah, it's just, at that point, if you have 8 mana, I'm going to be trying to find removal, digging for removal. It's like, well, you can't guarantee to me that you're not playing it, and 8 mana, I think that's a fair price to be paying for a win con. I think that this is an okay unban. I think that when you're dropping 8 mana things like Craterhoof and stuff, you are likely to win the game. So I think that it's a good time. At least it's not like 4 mana you win the game right now.
Yeah, it's an 8 mana sorcery. It has some setup. You have to have it like 1 rainbow creature, I assume, is the easiest way to go. You could have a bunch of small creatures. That's actually better for you, but harder to set up. So we're saying like a couple Triomes and your Joe to the Unifier, or like Garth One Eye, probably the commanders that I see getting played with this the most. And it is going to win the game right away. It is a little anticlimactic, but it feels on that level of a Craterhoof or a Moonshaker Cavalry or some kind of 3-card Karmic Guide combo thing that goes on. It can be stopped by interaction and stopped like real bad. Like they lose their commander and this spell does nothing, like devastating. They probably lose the game if this doesn't work out for them.
I mean, just in general though, with all the setup that this needs, even if you are going by the least amount of mana you could pour in, it's 8 mana and then a 5 mana commander and then a few Triomes. I think that there are so many more win cons in the game that have a lot less setup, whether that's, your Thorical Demonic Consultation, or you have a 3-card combo, like, some sort of like Heliod combo or something like that. I think that there are a lot of combos in this game that have a lot less setup than this. So I think that this is okay. I'm probably a little bit higher on it than I was when we first talked about it.
Yeah, if you saw our last video where I was like hemming and hawing about, I was going back and forth on, would I unban Coalition Victory? I don't know. It's kind of lame. I think this is a lame card that is okay for the format.
I also think that it makes sense that I would be very surprised if they didn't bring this back, truthfully, because of the fact that they reprinted whatever Dragon Coalition victory just in the last set in Dragonstorm. I think that it is a good time for this to come back, at least.
I mean, they also brought back Sway of the Stars, which is like a very similar, like, gigantic sorcery, potentially invalidates the game before it, changes it in a huge way and probably ends it. So, hey, at least they're being consistent. I mean, I'm okay with Coalition Victory. Next up is what?
It's Panoptic Mirror. It's 5 mana for an artifact, and you can imprint an instant or sorcery on it by paying X and tapping it, which is very expensive depending on what you're tapping. At the beginning of your upkeep, you can copy a card exiled with this artifact. If you do, you can cast the copy without paying its mana cost. This has a lot of 2-card combo setup. You can loop extra turn spells, but it's very expensive to be able to do this.
Yeah, this is definitely was banned. I feel more like for the prospect of what it is. They're just going to put an extra turn spell, and then they're going to pass the turn or cast it on their upkeep. I have always been kind of dunking on this card on the ban list. We're not going to pretend like, I can't even hide it. We don't think anything of this card. The impact of it, you're going to see it in Spellslinger decks where people want to cast like one really cool spell over and over. It's kind of like the big boy Isochron Scepter. Maybe decks with like a signature spell that people want to reuse. And then I think what you might see is those decks go, maybe I'll play a Time Warp. And then if they're in the late game, if they get to 10 mana and everybody else falls asleep and they pass the whole turnaround, then they can go, hey, I got infinite extra turns.
Yeah, I think that if you want infinite extra turns, there are way easier ways to do this. This is at the beginning of upkeep. If you just want to get extra infinite turns, why don't you just loop Nexus of Fate or something? I feel like it's a lot easier than setting it up under this.
Oh, loop a Nexus of Fate, that is my jam. And I fully admit that is also very lame. I have it in my lamest deck. I think this is great unban. I think this card's terrible as a win condition, and it's way more fun. And I think most people are going to play this honestly as some kind of goofy way to cast some token maker over and over. And I love that. I love that this card, it has like a bad record, but I think going forward it's going to be a straight shooter.
I feel like this is jank plus. Like, yeah, you can do some crazy things with it, but most of the time, are you going to? Well, if you want to cast, a 5 mana thing that is like, an extra turn spell or something, you gotta pay 5 mana, and then you gotta pay 5 mana to imprint it, and then you gotta wait till your upkeep. That's a long time. There's so many windows of opportunity to be killing this thing, so many windows to respond to the trigger, and then if you imprint something that's not that scary under it, they go, okay, at your upkeep, you're going to get whatever that is, and that'll be kind of crazy.
I think if you're looking to play Panoptic Mirror, there's a couple ways you could go about it. I'm trying to think of how I would respond if somebody plays this, because I want people to have fun. But if you play Panoptic Mirror and then pass with 5 mana up, I am going to go to the ends of the earth to kill this stupid thing. I promise. If you go, hey guys, I'm trying to have fun with this goofy thing, like I'm going to imprint a card right now, that's probably going to make me go, all right. I'm going to let it, I'm not going to spend my entire turn to just kill this thing. You imprinted a cool card. If it starts killing me, then I'll answer it, but I'm not going to just kill Panoptic Mirror every single time I see it. But if you pass with open mana, you better be ready for me to try to blow it up.
Yeah, I think it really depends on what you do. I would ask, what are you trying to imprint, and then try and deduce what it is from your open mana, and then if you won't tell me, I'll probably kill it. But if you're just oh, it's this, then you show me some, janky format. If you're trying to loop, fact or fiction or whatever.
Or if you say,
whatever.
If you say, I'm not going to Time Warp it, we are on great terms. So for all 5 of these cards, the format panel, the Commander format panel is emphasizing they are not opposed to rebanning them later if something weird happens or if they end up being way more visible than we thought and the community hates them. There will be no, unless there's some emergency, no more changes all year. They did mention the Nadu contingency, where if something comes out and is such a glaring design mistake that makes everybody miserable, they will take some emergency action and ban it. If there's another Nadu, they will ban it. But no more changes. They want to go back to Commander's roots as this format that moves slowly and is very stable. There's a lot of stability. We have not had a lot of stability lately, but we're going back to that after this.
But what about Dockside, Crypt, and Jeweled Lotus? Out of all 3 of these, Jeweled Lotus is the most likely to return. Notice how Nadu wasn't on that list? But there are no plans for it to return at the moment, or they're just going to take some time, wait and see, and then reevaluate next year.
Yeah, don't go buying Jeweled Lotus. It's not like it's on the list to be returned. It's if they had to return one, Jeweled Lotus is the most likely, but that still doesn't mean anything tangible for Jeweled Lotus coming back. They did also go over every card on the ban list. We're not going to do that right now, and they were just give you a little bit of an update as to what their thoughts on it were. And I agree with basically all of them. There's not a ton of cards that are banned right now that you could go, hey, why don't they just take that off? Because they just unbanned 5 of the biggest offenders for that. The one I wanted to touch on was Flash, though. When Gavin went over the whole panel's thoughts on Flash, he didn't really touch what I thought he would. He kind of went over it and he said like, this is really broken in CDH. It's really good with Protein Hulk, so we're gonna keep it banned. I was actually surprised because I don't know, is this Game Changers list addressing CDH at all? I understand this card is miserable for the CDH meta, for the format. Is that something we're addressing with the ban list? I guess it's just a question to ask going forward, but I was pretty confused, and I guess I would love a more clear statement on Flash.
Yeah, I would too. Personally, it's not something that I ever encountered outside of CEDH. I didn't start playing CEDH until a few years ago, and Flash was nowhere to be seen in any casual game. I feel like it just kind of rooted itself out because if you don't have specifically Hulk, it's not a good card.
Yeah, that'd be what I love to know. But other than that, I'm happy with these changes. We get some new toys to play with. Nothing even got banned, and brackets are going to take some time to soak in and settle. We will go over changes to the Game Changers in our next video. But brackets, they're here. They are not changing yet. I think it's fair to keep them in beta mode as players test with them. But we want to know what you think. What do you think of these unbans? What did they miss? What did they not consider? If anything, I think this was a well done announcement. Let us know.
And if you want to see any gameplay where we have some bracket 3 decks, why don't you check it right here.